Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 85 of the Shauna Stitches Podcast. I'm Shauna, and this is where I talk about all the crafty things that I've been working on lately. I am recording on Sunday, March the 3rd, 2024, and it is very rainy and cold here on the Oregon coast. I live in the Pacific Northwest, almost at the Washington border, right on the coast, and we get a brunt of the weather. So if you hear raining, hailing, wind, that's what's going on outside. There are links down below to everywhere you can find me, as well as a Ravelry project page for all of the projects that I'll talk about. I keep pretty extensive notes there, so if there's anything you have a question about that I don't mention here, check there. If I still don't cover your question, please ask down below or reach out to me on Instagram in a DM or on Ravelry. And yeah, let's talk about some things. It's been 2 weeks since I recorded, and I thought I wasn't going to have anything to talk about. And now that I'm looking at everything right here, I feel like I have a ton. So it probably still will only take me like 25 minutes, which seems to be my episode average these days. I think I talk fast. Do I talk fast? I tend to listen to other people's podcasts sped up to usually like 1.5 speed. And so I don't know if I just talk fast because I'm used to listening to things fast or if I'm just a fast talker. So I will try and slow down a bit. If for some reason, like I'm ever talking so fast that you can't keep up, like let me know. I will try to consciously be slower. I don't know. It's just kind of how I talk. So anyway, I'm drinking plain black coffee and it's just afternoon here. I would have recorded earlier, but there's a project that I'll show you that I was working on to get to a certain point before I recorded. So that's why. Okay, I have two finished objects and they're both very similar. The first one here, this is the classic, what is it, classic ribbed hat? Hold on, I have notes right here, let me see. Yes, classic ribbed hat by Purl Soho. It's just a 1x1 rib with pretty decreases at the top. And this right here is the kid size. So it's not the smallest size, but it's the second size of the pattern. That is intended to go with the baby blanket that I showed last time, which was the Purl Soho half and half triangles wrap turned into a baby blanket. So this is the same Grasshopper color and it'll go really good, I think. I made the second size because, first of all, I know from friends, not personal experience, but apparently babies' heads grow really fast. And I think the baby's due in April or May. So if that's the case, we won't have a ton of cold weather probably, and then this should fit next cold season. The second finished object I have looks very similar. Are you seeing double? Almost. So this is the second size, the kid size, and this is the third size, the adult small. Same exact yarn, same exact pattern. It's just more stitches and knit to be a bit longer. So let me see. I'll put these together and you can see the size difference. So with the hems held at the same size, that is how much bigger the adult small is. Like it's barely bigger, but this one is for the big brother. So they will have, the two brothers will have matching hats. And I think they'll be excited about that. So these are Bernat Sport Solids or something like that. Sweet Sport Solids, but it's a DK weight. So I don't know, you figure that one out. Yeah, I haven't washed or blocked these yet. I need to because acrylic really does kind of soften up and it'll just look better. It doesn't block exactly, but it does something called killing it. If you steam acrylic, they says it kills it, but I have done that many times with different projects that I've made, and you just hold the steam right over it and you can actually see what we would call in wool, we would see it bloom, and for some reason in acrylic they call it killing it. Now you do not want to touch the hot object to the acrylic because it will melt, but just holding steam or like hot water, dryer, it will come out looking nice. If I remember, I will show that after I block it, but I might not remember. Oh, I think I told you I was going to put in pictures of the size of that blanket on my king size bed. I don't think I showed that last episode because if I remember right, my husband was sleeping. So I did take that photo. I'm going to have to go way back in my camera roll, but if I can find it, I will put that in here so you can see just how huge that blanket is. And that is done. Gift knitting is done, so that's awesome. Those are my only finished objects, but I do have lots of work in progresses. Is that how you say that? Progresses? Works in progress, I think is technically correct. The first one that I cast on in March is this. Can you guess? It's my Desert Vista Dyeworks March socks. And of course I had to go with something green because March. And this color is called Crystal Ball Frapp, which I believe is, I don't remember, did Starbucks have a Crystal Ball Frappuccino? I mean, I'm sure it's named after something like that, but maybe they called it something different. I have just a cuff done so far, nothing more. And it's looking very green. It's hard to show just a cuff. This little progress keeper is a turtle, and I just got this from Susan of Desert Vista Dyeworks for my prize for participating in the 2023 Cowl. I got a bunch of little extras that were for posting on Instagram. So I had to have it on my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. And then of course, you know, turtles are technically green. So he's just a little turtle hanging out, marking my spot. The other thing, or one of the other things I got, are these little stitch markers. They're a little large for this, but they work. So yeah, these I will get done. The Sockhead base, I can't remember what it's called, but usually I use her Vista base is the normal sock yarn, and this is sock yarn, but it has sparkle. I don't know if you can tell. Well, I see a few sparkles in there. But it's a 2-ply with sparkle, and it's a different base name, which I cannot recall, but it's in my project notes or on her page if you are interested in what that's called. I've not made a pair of her socks or of socks out of her yarn with the sparkle, so I'm interested to see how that turns out. I can tell you just from, I had to break a knot, nothing that was a knot in the skein, but just the little tie that goes around the hank. I had to break that, and I noticed that it broke away much easier in this yarn, I think because it's 2-ply, than it does on the normal sock yarn. So I don't know. I mean, I think it'll still be fine. It's marketed for socks, so I don't think that should be an issue, but hopefully not. And the next project I made progress on in my Hohe & Co bag, my favorite project bag, is my Lochcorran Vest. And this is the project that's just gonna keep going, but I did make progress, so I wanted to show you guys. It's so hard to hold up here, but if you remember the last time I showed you, I had 4 of the yellow sections done. And I have, see, I think I'm on the 5th one. I don't think I've completely finished it. Or maybe, I guess I'm just finishing it because I have taken the yellow yarn off and I'm working with both of the grays now. So that's that. This thing is looking big. It's supposed to be oversized. I think I'm making the 45-inch size. And yeah, it's going to be plenty big to go over my hips, I think. No issues there. I'm using all Holst Garn Supersoft for that. I've talked about the colors many times, so I'm not going to go into all those, but if you're curious, they are linked down below in my project page. Okay, what else? Oh, I forgot to say, I'm so all over the place. I only have the cuff, which is why I didn't tell you what pattern I'm using. For all of my 2024 Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, I'm using the Blueberry Waffles pattern, which you cannot tell is that yet, but that's what it will be. Last year I did all plain vanilla, and this year I'm doing all Blueberry Waffles. If you don't know what Blueberry Waffles is, it is a ribbed. It's not just completely ribbed though. I guess you'd call it maybe a broken rib or waffle. It's a waffle stitch. I think that's the best way to explain it. But it makes it nice and stretchy and a good fit. Okay, let's see. I have a very old whip that I pulled out. As you know, or may not know, I am working hard to finish off old projects this year. And you might find that I'm not doing the best job with 2 new cast-ons, and you notice I said 2 because I haven't talked about the second one yet, but I did cast on 2 new things this last 2 weeks. Anyhow, the old thing I picked up, this is a Sockhead cowl, which by the way is probably one of my very favorite knit patterns. Very much like the Muscle Burrow hat, it uses up an entire skein of yarn, which I love. And it also is just great because for this one, you don't even need different needles. One needle the whole way through for the ribbing, for the plain stockinette, and then there is ribbing again at the end, and it just fits so well. It's so warm. It's the best. You can pull it up over your head if you want to wear it like, what's that called? A snood, I think, where it looks more like a hood, and you can bunch it up around your neck. You can fold it in half. It's just so versatile, so warm. I love it. So I cast this on in September of 2020, a long time ago, and when I picked it up just now, I was 2 inches into the rib, so about right there. That's as much as I had done. And I picked it up and I just knit a ton. This was all I was working on for quite some time. This is how much yarn I have left. Just looking at it, I'm going to guess probably around 40 grams. So I have quite a ways to go. One really nice thing you can do with this pattern is once you're done with your ribbing, you can weigh how much yarn you use. So weigh your yarn before you start, weigh it after you're done with the ribbing, and figure out how much that is. Knit until you have just that amount left. Then you can do your ribbing, do your bind off, and you've used an entire skein. Very much like the Muscle Burrow. So I use 23 grams for the ribbing, and I'm going to knit until I have 23 or 24. If I have a few extra rows of ribbing or a few less rows of ribbing, and then enough for the bind off. Good enough for me. If anyone's counting my rows of ribbing to compare both ends, well, you have too much time on your hands. So anyway, I am excited to have this done. I made one for myself in the same yarn but a different color. It's actually the yarn called for in the pattern. It's the Misti Alpaca hand painted. I don't remember what this color is called, but it's in my show notes. And the one that I made for myself, it's more blues, and I think it has some orange in it. And this color I just thought my husband would really like. It looks so different, like held back, especially on the camera, than it does up close. But it's really fun to knit through all the color changes, and the yarn is very soft and nice. I bought this so long ago from a yarn shop that was closing down right as I started to learn how to knit. Like, I didn't know much of anything. I certainly didn't know anything about sock yarn or yarn in general, and I'm happy to finally be putting it to use because it's perfect for this. And who would have guessed that one of my very favorite patterns I would actually have the yarn called for. That never happens. Okay, now let's talk about the other new casts on that I have. So, let's see here. Let me hold it up. There we go. This is the first block of the Puzzle Block Knit Quilt. It's a pattern by Pinkava, and it is free in Blocked Magazine issue number 13. And I saw Anne as she was creating this design and coming up with it, and although it looks very cool as one block, I can tell you it looks extra cool when you have multiple blocks all together, because just like a regular quilt, these little triangles that form here, you know, there'll be one down here, there'll be a half triangle up here because that will be the top of the quilt, and I just think it looks so cool. The other thing I love about this is that I can use up so many scraps, and I'm knitting this on a 4mm needle. And just to mention, these are the needles I'm knitting them on. I don't think you can tell, but it's square. These are from Knit Picks. I don't know the name of the needles. My mom got them for me, and I've had them for, I think, since Christmas, maybe even before that. And I just never had a project that needed this size of needle, because she got me the trial kit. It had a 4mm in these needles, which are wood, and then a 4.5mm in a metal needle, which I haven't tried those either. But I have to say, I really like these. I like the wood. It's a hard, dense wood, I guess you would say. I don't feel like I'm going to break it by any means. And the tips, although not super sharp, they are plenty sharp enough for garter stitch. And I'm using that for this. So this, I am holding fingering weight held double. So those needles are working great even with the yarn held double. I haven't had any issues where I'm only picking up half of the width of the yarn or splitting stitches, anything like that. So this was the first square that I did. And this is a free pattern, so I'm not going to give it all away, but I don't think I'm giving anything away too super secret either. So you cast on at a corner, and you finish the white section, you add this color, and then you start adding in this color, and you knit back and forth like this. So this section where the two colors are lined up together is actually intarsia. And I started doing it wrong initially, had to rip back a couple times, but it is not hard. The main thing I can tell you is that you want to crisscross your yarn so the old yarn goes over the new yarn. And when you're on the back side of it, you'll have your old working yarn in the back, and you'll be knitting with your current yarn, so it'll be in the front. You take the back yarn to the front and take the new yarn to the back, I guess. Does that make sense? Your back yarn goes to the front, your front yarn goes to the back, and you want to make sure that they crisscross. And so by doing that, you have absolutely no holes, no gaps, and it just looks like seamless garter, which is really cool. And the back, there's a lot of ends there. I did weave them in, but that's what it looks like when you do the intarsia. So it looks nice and neat, and it works. Anyway, so one square is one quadrant of this. Let me see here. It's a little difficult to tell, but that's one square minus the gray that you can see hanging over there. And for the white section, for one square, it's taking me roughly 7 to 8 grams total, and that's fingering weight held double. It's meant for DK. And then each color section is taking me roughly just under 10 grams, between 8 point something and 9 point something. So I've just made sure to have either 10 grams total of a yarn that I'm holding together with itself, this is an example of that. This also was yarn held with itself, or at least 5 grams of 2 different colors. And let's see. This one here is a good example. I held 2 different self-striping yarns together and kind of just got a little bit of chaos there. And this one is really fun. So this is the same yarn held together. And this yarn is the same yarn in both of these, except for in this one I held it with pink, obviously, and in this one I held it with a blue. So I just think it looks so cool how different it can be, and I think the marling possibilities are completely endless. I did take a little bit of a overhead photo of that. Maybe it will be easier to see. I'll pop that in because I can't tell what you can really see. You know, I mean, I'm seeing it, but I think it might be more clear. Anyway, the pattern is written so that you can knit each square of the block of the 4 together, but I did not have success with that. I tried it a couple times, ended up ripping back, and ultimately just decided to knit each square and then mattress stitch them together. Mattress stitch is super easy. It adds a lot of structure. So garter is very stretchy. Let's see. If I stretch this portion, it's really stretchy. You come to a seam, it's less stretchy. So I'm hoping in blocking that's going to come out okay. I think because there's going to be enough seams, it should sort of all hold it all together. Because garter would stretch and block a lot if I wanted it to. But with the seams, it should kind of hold it together, I think. I'm pretty new to mattress stitch seaming. I've done like pockets and stuff, where pockets you want structure. I didn't want it to be too loose. I also didn't want it to be too tight. You can see along the edge there's kind of a dip, but I think once like a second block is added on, that should go away, or at least not be as obvious. So anyway, I just want to keep working on this, but it's a new project and I have lots of old projects to work on. I mean, technically now this is an old project because it started, but I'm going to focus on old whips again and then work on that here and there. I really just, watching the pattern come out, I wanted to give it a try, and sometimes I just have to get it out of my system. I don't feel like it's completely out of my system, but at least enough to where I can work on my March socks. That's what I really need to work on. I have one more thing I've been working on, and I'm not sure how much to say about this one. It's a very old whip. Again, I don't even have a record of when I cast this on, but it was at a time where I kind of thought maybe I wanted to design some patterns. And so it sat for years because I was like, I'm not going to do that. It's a lot of work. To all those people who crank out designs all the time, like, kudos to you, because it's not easy. So I'm just going to show you the back side. This is a toe and a foot and a heel and a leg. When I had put these down, I was just past the heel. In fact, you can see, I don't know why, when I leave needles in a project for a while, that always happens. And, I don't know why. Anyway, so I've knit a little bit on this, and I've decided that I do want to continue working on the design, but I can't really turn the socks sideways here, but hopefully you can see that's a fish lips kiss heel or another short row heel. And if you've watched my most recent episodes, you'll know that that is not my favorite heel to use anymore. So I think I'll keep finishing this sock to be able to write up that option in the pattern, but I want to do a second version with either a slip stitch heel flap or some other kind of toe up heel that fits a high end step better. So that's my plan. I'm using this green yarn, which I don't even know what this is. That's how long. So old. This is a Heritage sock yarn. No color name. It's color 5612. Somehow I managed to keep the ball band in there. And the other one I do not have a ball band for, but I love this color. It's like a multi-red and pink. So that's what I was using for the toes, heels, and cuff. So yeah, I don't know. I can't say when that will be out, but it's something that I am at least putting on the, let's say, if you say you're putting on the back burner, it's like you're forgetting it. But, if it's on the front burner, you're really working on it. So like mine's on the medium burner. I don't know. Anyway, that is all the things that I have worked on in the last 2 weeks. I feel like it's a lot and also not that much. So I don't know what that means exactly. Other than that, I have been busy. I finished reading Outlander 7, which was An Echo in the Bone, and I thought it was okay. It's not my favorite Outlander book, but it's not terrible either. And I immediately started Outlander 8, which is written in my own heart's blood. and I don't know how far I am into it. I've read a little bit on it, but I was out of town. So I had the most busy last week. I worked Monday and Tuesday, and then after work on Tuesday, had to drive to the city where I had training on Wednesday and Thursday, and the training went till, like a regular work day on Thursday, and then I drove home in the snow, which was not fun. Got home late on Thursday and then worked an entire day on Friday, so I just feel extra tired. Like, today is Sunday, I had all day yesterday off, and of course today off, and I just feel like it's not enough. I need at least another day, and I don't have it. And work is very busy for me, so it's not an option to just take an extra day. That would be so nice. Other than that, things haven't been too exciting around here, which is just the way I like it, and that gives me more crafting time. So I think that's about it. And what did I say? 25 minutes. Here we are at 25 minutes and 56 seconds. And who knows with edits where we'll be, but not much after that, I think. So thank you for joining me. I hope that you are all comfy and cozy and knitting away or crocheting, whatever crafty thing you're working on, and have a wonderful day whenever you're watching this. As I said before, if you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below. More than happy to answer those, not ask those. And yeah, I think that's it. I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.